Welcome. I'm Yaakov Lappin, in-house analyst at the MirYam Institute. It's early in the morning on Thursday, March 12th. I'm recording this from Rehovot in Israel, south of Tel Aviv. And I want to give you a deep dive update on the situation on the 13th day of Operation Roaring Lion or Epic Fury, the name of the joint historic Israeli-American operation against the Islamic Republic of Iran. And what I want to do is talk you through three distinct yet interlinked arenas. The first is the Islamic Republic of Iran. The damage that it has incurred, I think it's important to take a moment and figure out exactly how much damage has been caused to the head of the snake, to the mothership of international and regional terrorism, without which we would not have even a Hezbollah or a Hamas to deal with, or lots of other terrorist activities. What is the situation in the Islamic Republic of Iran? We'll get to that in a moment. The second is looking at what's going on in Lebanon and Hezbollah, the main branch of Iran. And the third is a look at what's going on here at the Israeli home front. So let's get right into it. I think it's important to note that when we're looking at the targets that the Israeli Air Force has been hitting systematically, relentlessly, reflecting years of prior preparation, I think we can identify three categories of targets. And in those, there are, of course, other subcategories. So, we can drill down into higher and higher resolutions, but let's start at the top. The first set of categories in Iran that has been severely damaged already is the Iranian missile program. Now, this program was actually the trigger as far as the Israeli Defense Establishment is concerned and the Israeli cabinet. The trigger for the war, as far as Israel is concerned, is the Iranian missile program. It's considered to be an existential threat even without the nuclear program. The missile that landed at Bet Shemesh several days ago, killing 9 civilians. Iran wanted to build 8,000 of those ballistic missiles with 1-ton warheads. And that number of missiles would saturate our air defenses, no matter how good our multi-layered air defenses are. No country can cope with that kind of missile onslaught. And therefore, when Israeli intelligence figured out that Iran had already built 2,500 missiles in total on the eve of this war, and between the June war of 2025, Operation Rising Lion, and today, the Iranians had basically been able to build 1,000 missiles. And that's a very high rate of production. Think about how much resources the regime had to invest to reach that rate of production as the Iranian people ran out of drinking water, because their economy was collapsing, their infrastructure was collapsing, and the massacres that they incurred. This is a regime that prioritizes its ability to destroy Israel before everything else. And that shows you how fanatical and dangerous it really is. So the missile program, the good news here is that it has taken a severe hit. Now, the subcategories of this kind of target family, if we can call it that, are, first of all, the missile launchers. This is the most urgent threat. These are divided into stationary missile bases. A lot of these are underground, and Israel has been hitting them very well because Israel has figured out how to hit deep underground bunker targets. As Hassan Nasrallah, the late leader of Hezbollah, found out the hard way in Beirut, and as Ayatollah Khamenei, who did not learn the lesson from Nasrallah, found out in Tehran. And now many of these missile bases dug deep underground. They used to call them missile cities. The Iranians would show them off in propaganda videos. They're being eliminated. Israel has figured out how to destroy these deep underground targets. And so most of the launchers have been destroyed, and what's left are dozens of mobile launchers. These are basically trucks with hydraulics. They look like civilian trucks when you look at them from above. They're spread out all over Iran. They're camouflaged, and they can stop on the road. They can stop on the side of the highway, and then the roof opens up. It shifts up 45 degrees, the launcher, and the missiles in the air. These are the main kind of targets that the Israeli Air Force is now hunting when we're talking about missile launchers, it's a very difficult cat and mouse game with many lives at stake. A lot of this effort is being taken on by the Israeli armed drone squadrons who are active over Iran. They're operating in shifts. It's really an incredible effort. Also, the missile storage facilities themselves, also the Iranian missile production industries have all been hit across Iran. This includes research and development. This includes the production lines. 1,500 missiles that were still being built have been destroyed. So really, we're seeing the Iranian missile program take a massive hit, and that is the primary and most urgent set of targets that we're seeing hit. At the same time, the Iranian leadership, this is a huge category of targets from Ayatollah Khamenei and the IRGC commander, who is a replacement of a replacement. His two predecessors were eliminated by Israel in the June war. The Iranian chief of staff, intelligence chiefs, the list goes on and on. They are being systematically targeted and eliminated by an incredible joint effort. The Israeli intelligence community is offering very precise information about their real-time location. The Israeli Air Force is able to take this information and convert it into precise firepower strikes. And to do this 2,000 kilometers away is really no small feat. It's an enormous achievement. Just a quick note, I'm not going to be getting into the American achievements of this war so far, which are huge. I'm not going to have the time to get into that, but I'll just note that, CENTCOM had noted that over 5,000 targets have been hit already by the American Air Force and the naval fleet. And the United States is playing an enormously important role. But I'm very much focused on the Israeli operational efforts here. So I'm going to talk you through that instead. So I think it's important to notice, when we're talking about the Iranian leadership, the list is very long. We're talking about thousands of regime commanders, military commanders, political leaders who had all of them had a hand in the plan, in the Iranian plan to destroy Israel. And we've covered so many events in this war that I think we've all sort of glossed over in a way the fact that Ayatollah Khamenei, he's not just the Secretary General of a terrorist organization. This is the head of a country with 92 million people, the head of state, the head of an Islamic revolution. The fundamentalists in the worldwide Shiite community saw him as a holy figure, and he was eliminated by the Israeli Air Force, just like Nasrallah, just like Sinwar. This was the ultimate symbolism of Israel's determination to go after and eliminate those who are committed to eliminating it. And the message here, I don't think could be more powerful. It's going to reverberate. And when the Islamic Republic falls, and I believe one day it will fall, even if it doesn't happen immediately, the dent in its image that was caused by this elimination, I think, will play a major role. Nobody can forget. This will be remembered for generations, that the head of the Islamic Republic of Iran was eliminated by the Israeli Air Force in the heart of Tehran. This is going to weaken the message of the Islamic Revolution until the collapse, whenever that happens. And I don't think we can overstate the importance of that. Now, many people have said, oh, look, his son has taken over, Mujtaba. What have we gained? And this is what that criticism misses. It misses the enormously powerful symbolism. And war is just as much about symbolism and people's cognitive perceptions as it is about bullets and bombs and stealth fighter jets and missiles. And everybody's going to know that even the head of the Islamic Republic was eliminated by Israel's defense forces. So I really don't think this can be overstated. And then, when we're talking about the Iranian chief of staff, who is a replacement of a replacement, we say this so quickly, we move on to the next thing, especially in the news cycle. Think about what we're talking about here. The Iranian chief of the entire armed forces, who himself replaced somebody who was eliminated by Israel in June, who himself replaced the original head, the chief of staff. Similarly, the IRGC. The IRGC commander was eliminated. He is a replacement of a replacement. Three heads of IRGCs were eliminated by the state of Israel in the space of several months. Again, I'm not talking about Hamas. I'm not talking about Hezbollah, terrorist armies, certainly threats all in their own right. I'm talking about a state that is the head of this entire terrorist machinery, and they are being eliminated far from Israel, not only in Tehran, but throughout the entire country of Iran, which is a very large country. So, again, this is historic. And I really think that it's important to stop and understand just how major these achievements are. And I think they're going to reverberate. I really believe that they're going to reverberate. And we're going to see the influence and knock-on effect of this for a long time to come. So, I'm not going to get into all the leaders and terrorist commanders that have been eliminated, including senior Basij commander. This is part of already the third category that I'm about to get to. But the leadership is under sustained attack. It cannot raise its head. It is in hiding. It's in bunkers. It's in tunnels. And thousands of leaders, especially from the IRGC, have been eliminated already. And the IRGC is the heart of the beast here. This is the elite Iranian military organization that actually controls Iran. If anybody has any doubt about that, look at when the Iranian president apologized to the Gulf countries for firing on them, and a few minutes later, the IRGC continued to fire on them. That tells you everything you need to know about who the real power broker in Iran is. They're the ones who insisted on getting Mujtaba Khamenei, the Ayatollah's son, declared as the supreme leader, according to multiple reports. The IRGC is in many ways running Iran. And they're in an alliance with the clerics, with the Ayatollahs, with the jihadist Ayatollah class. So this hunt after the leaders is continuing, and part of that includes destroying command and control centers. This is where many terrorist Iranian leaders, military leaders, are running their operations from. I'm going to include these command centers as part of the attack on the personnel of the IRGC. People who are in charge of the IRGC's missile program, people who are in charge of the IRGC's activation of proxies, Quds Force, which is the unit of the IRGC that's responsible for arming and activating Hezbollah, Hamas, all targeted both in Iran and in Lebanon. So this is a very, very long list. Now, the third category is the internal repression mechanism of the Islamic Republic. The Basij, this is a huge militia. By some counts, it's 2 million strong. Their headquarters, their bases are under systematic attack by the Israeli Air Force. And the goal was really to leave them practically without bases. So it's not possible to eliminate every Basij militia member, this paramilitary, ruthless paramilitary organization, which is basically designed to mass murder the Iranian people if they begin to form a political threat to the regime, as we saw in January. These are mass murderers. They go around in motorcycles. They have sniper positions on rooftops. They have no qualms about using heavy machine guns on unarmed protesters. These are the enforcers of the regime, the internal enforcers. And the fact that their bases are being wiped out is very important because this is part of the attempt to shake up the foundations of the regime. Is that going to lead to a regime collapse? First of all, nobody knows. We have to be modest. It's not a science, but it's certainly going to weaken the regime, and it will embolden its enemies and opponents. So we'll have to watch that space. So those are the three main categories: the missile program, the leadership and personnel, and we'll include the command centers in that, and the internal repression, Basij. All have been severely degraded. Now, let me add a fourth category, and that is, of course, the nuclear program. Israel has not hit many targets related to this program because most of those targets were heavily damaged in June and not repaired. Natanz, Isfahan, Qom, where the main uranium enrichment facilities were. But there was a very interesting strike on another smaller nuclear research facility, a hidden one, that nuclear scientists had withdrawn to, thinking that they were out of the sights of Israeli intelligence, and that site was struck. Now, we still have unfinished business. We've got 400 kilograms of enriched uranium, enriched to 60%. It appears, according to multiple reports, to be divided. 200 of those kilograms are hidden underneath Isfahan, and another 200 appear to be spread out between Qom and Natanz. So what's going to happen with that enriched uranium is a big question. I think that the United States and Israel are looking at multiple options, and we don't know what they're going to decide. But I think that something's going to be done before this war is over regarding that enriched uranium. I think it's very important. I will say, by the way, that the United States, one of its major targets in terms of family of targets, you can really see a organized division of labor here, is the Iranian Navy. They've also gone after their deep underground missile sites themselves. Really, the American Air Force doing a phenomenal job as well. So when you put it all together, the Islamic Republic is heavily, heavily damaged. And I personally think the days in which this terror regime can project power far beyond its borders are gone. I don't think it's going to recover from this. And if they survive and they try, I fully expect Israel and hopefully the United States to come back and preserve these achievements, to never again let them build large amounts of missiles, not to let them reconstitute their nuclear program or their terror proxy program. So Iran is getting weaker by the day. There's no question about it. You can't hit this many targets and it stay the same. And I don't think it's ever going to be the same. So this is the situation in Iran. Overall, phenomenal military achievements. How they're going to affect the future of that country, we will find out soon. But this is I'm going to keep it free of future-looking assessments right now because I want to get the facts out there. It's important to do that. I think amid all of the partly disinformation, partly incomplete information, it's very important, I think, to be accurate about what's actually happening on the ground. Let's move to Lebanon. It was a dramatic few hours because basically Hezbollah has upped the stakes. Hezbollah in recent hours fired dozens of rockets on northern Israel. It then fired on central Israel. It appears in its larger barrage. Earlier on northern Israel, it fired from several launchers at the same time. It's also trying to time its attacks, often with Iranian missile attacks. They're trying to confuse the Israeli radars and detection and alert system. It's not really working for them, but they're certainly trying. And look, Hezbollah is an Iranian branch. It's an Iranian army in Lebanon. That's what it is. It's dependent on recruitment from the Shiite Lebanese base. It's got Lebanon in a chokehold, but I think that there's room for optimism here, and I'll tell you why. When Hezbollah looks around, everything it once was used to, the strategic landscape that it was used to, has been replaced by other things, and every replacement is to its detriment. Let me explain. First of all, when it looks at Israel, Hezbollah entered this war on March 2nd. It fired 2 volleys. Each volley of rockets was made up of 3 projectiles. So it fired 3 and then another 3 at Haifa. And Hezbollah thought that this was, they were sending solidarity with Iran. They felt they had to respond because the Iranians ordered them to respond. And they themselves, viewed Khamenei as a holy figure. So it was clear that they would respond. But, when you listen to the speeches of Naim Qassem, who was the Secretary of General, he later went on to say, Israel, you didn't have to go to war. Well, we fired, some rockets at Haifa. And this is the first change. Hezbollah had grown used to Israel accepting their equations. If you fire a few rockets, we'll respond with a few airstrikes. If you do this, we'll do that. And that was back in the day before October 7th, when Israel was basically deterred by Hezbollah, by its enormous firepower, and it accepted these equations. And what Israeli defense officials are saying very clearly now is There are no equations. If you fire on our largest northern city, we don't care if it's 3 rockets or 30. You have entered the war. You have declared a war on Israel, and that gives Israel a window of opportunity that Israel is going to exploit to degrade what's left of Hezbollah's capabilities to the extent possible. This, by the way, is a common theme here in both arenas. There's a window of opportunity to degrade the enemy's capabilities. This is the main thing, weaken them, and to keep them broken afterwards. So Hezbollah entered the war, came under very rapid and large-scale Israeli air attacks, and at the same time, we also saw the IDF ground forces basically broaden the security zone. We can already call it a security zone in southern Lebanon. And the reason that that's there is because one of the lessons of October 7th is that communities can no longer be left alone to face terror armies with no military buffer in between. It's a key and critical lesson. The military has got to be in front of the civilians, and the further it is in front of the civilians, the safer the civilians are. We see it on every war front. Every front, you see the same pattern. In Gaza, in Lebanon, in Syria, it's the same story. So immediately you saw backup forces join what were already 5 outposts that Israel had left from the previous round of fighting, from the previous war, I should say. And we're seeing very heavy airstrikes, and now we're seeing Hezbollah respond, trying to surge its rocket attacks. They're firing drones. They're firing anti-tank missiles at Israeli military personnel in southern Lebanon. Israel has evacuated the whole of southern Lebanon up into the Litani River. We're talking about 900,000 people. This is the human shield layer that's being stripped away because whoever is left in southern Lebanon, safe assumption to make that they're going to be Hezbollah terror operatives. Dahia, which is the southern part of Beirut, the stronghold of Hezbollah, heavily bombed tonight in response to the heavy bombardment of northern communities. And I think that basically, what Hezbollah is trying to do here is under Iranian orders, they're trying to get the Israeli Air Force to take its foot off the gas from the campaign in Iran and divert resources to Lebanon. I think that's what's happening here. And I believe that the Israeli Air Force foresaw this scenario and has already allocated sufficient resources to deal with both arenas. And because we're at such an advanced stage in the campaign against Iran, and because the United States is also there, having our back, I think that Israel can even afford to take some resources out of the Iranian campaign if that becomes necessary and inject them into the Lebanese Hezbollah campaign. So I think, we might see an escalation now by Israel. When I say escalation, I mean an intensification of the war of self-defense to protect the north of the country and the whole of the country from this cancerous terrorist organization, which I'll remind the viewers that before this whole war began on October 7th, before Hezbollah had more firepower than most NATO armies. So just let that sink in to understand how monstrous it had become. It went into this war originally on October 8th with the ability to launch a ground invasion into northern Israel. In fact, the October 7th Hamas invasion by their death squads, their Nukhba death squads from Gaza, was basically a copy of Hezbollah's plan to send its elite terror commandos, the Radwan force, into the Western Galilee. And that ended up happening in southern Israel. And now Hezbollah cannot invade and cause death and destruction to northern Israel. They've lost that ability. They can still try to infiltrate with small cells, but they can't do a mass invasion. They're being pushed back, and they're being hammered by the Israeli Air Force. Are we going to see an Israeli ground operation? Too soon to know, but definitely worth watching this space. And here there is a window of opportunity as well to degrade. Now, when I said that when Hezbollah looks around and it finds that nothing is the same, let me continue with that and point out that when they look east, what do they see in Syria? They once had a great ally called the Assad regime. These were all components in the Iranian network. The Assad regime was part of the Shiite terror network. It was a major facilitator for arms smuggling. It was like a land bridge. The Iranians would take missiles that they produced in their factories in Iran, put them in trucks, drive them across Iraq, which is also under their influence, a majority Shiite country, reach the Assad regime. Some would get left in Syria, some would continue all the way to Lebanon. So you had a situation where Syria was the land bridge connecting Iran to Lebanon and the Mediterranean and bringing their capabilities to our border. And sometimes these missiles and other components would land at Damascus airport. From there, they'd be trucked. This was a whole regional arms trafficking empire. And it was masterminded by Qasem Soleimani, by the way, the late commander of the Quds Force, eliminated by Donald Trump back in 2020. So look, at the end of the day, I think that when they look east, what do they see? They see a new Syria. They see a Syria that's ruled by their enemies, the Sunni regime of Ahmed al-Shara. This is basically the Sunni rebels that Hezbollah had been fighting for years to protect Assad. The Iranians called on Hezbollah. They said during the Syrian civil war, you have to rescue Assad. Go into Syria and fight al-Shara and his Sunni rebels. This was a Shiite-Sunni war for the future of Syria. And that worked for a while until Hezbollah was heavily damaged by Israel during the war that raged 2023, 2024. Then there was a ceasefire after the Beeper operation and Nasrallah's elimination. I won't take you through all the history. But the Sunni rebels saw that their old enemies were seriously degraded. And that was a domino effect. That's what enabled them to make a push and to topple Assad. And that was a huge blow to the Iranian terror axis. And by the way, this is going to be the common theme of everything that I'm telling you. I'm describing to you an arc of history here, a gradual weakening. It's not one day to the next. It's not immediate. It's not instant coffee. And some people do seem to expect those kinds of instant results. But no, we're seeing a spectrum here. The entire Iranian terror axis is getting weaker. And this is how Hezbollah got weaker as well. So they look east, they see a hostile Syria. There are many problems with this regime. I'm not going to get into it now, but they are no friends of Hezbollah. They are enemies of Hezbollah. And the third thing that they see is the Lebanese government. Now, the Lebanese government, it has to be said, has totally failed to disarm Hezbollah. We see that now with all the rockets being fired. How did these rockets survive the great disarmament program of the Lebanese government? Well, that tells you everything you need to know about the so-called Lebanese disarmament effort. It was a fake. But the Lebanese government does genuinely want to see Hezbollah dismantled. It is sick of Lebanon being used by Iran as a forward base for its war to destroy Israel. It wants an independent Lebanon. There's a genuine desire. And so if nothing else, the statements being made right now by the Lebanese Prime Minister, Nawaf Salam, and the President, Joseph Aoun, who's the former Chief of Staff, these statements are saying that Hezbollah has got to be basically dismantled, that as a military and terrorist organization, that it can no longer be allowed to exist. Now, even if they can't translate these statements into action, which they can't at the moment, largely because half of the army is Shiite. So there's a danger here of a civil war that the army is not in a position to basically take on. A lot of this is really due to the sectarian makeup of the army. But even if it's just at the statement level, this is very damaging to the political legitimacy of Hezbollah. Suddenly you have a government in Beirut that openly challenges its right to wage war on Israel and demands that Lebanon's interests come first and not be sacrificed on the altar of the Islamic Revolution of Iran. And I think this is significant. It's not just words. It's a change in attitude. It's a blow to their legitimacy. It kind of blows their cover because Hezbollah's longstanding lie is that it is the defender of Lebanon, when in fact it is the destroyer of Lebanon. And now at least you've got a Lebanese government in Beirut that's willing to say the truth. And I think that matters. Saying the truth matters. There is a power to it. And so when Hezbollah looks around, it sees a new Israel that takes the initiative. It sees an enemy Syria, and it sees a Lebanese government that's no longer willing to cover up for its lies. That's all bad news for Hezbollah. I'm not saying that Hezbollah is going to go away tomorrow, but I think it's getting weaker. It's going to emerge from this war weaker. And I think the arc of history is bending against it. Let me talk to you briefly in the time that we have left about the Israeli home front. I was actually asked about this today on I-24 News. What about northern Israel? Will their spirit break? They're under heavy fire, much heavier right now than the rest of the country. And I said the opposite. I said their spirit might have broken if they would see that there's no action being taken. But they see the opposite. They see the army going up in front of them into southern Lebanon. They see that the Israeli Defense Forces has prioritized waging war against Hezbollah, even though it's still not the primary arena. Iran, head of the snake, primary arena. But this is starting to change. But they see that there is major Israeli military action and that Hezbollah is being taken very seriously. So, in my view, if they see that this is all being done in order to improve their security situation and that of the whole of the country, they will have the resilience and the endurance to stick with it and not be broken. Now, add on top of that none of them have been evacuated. It's very important. The reason that they were evacuated, 60,000 Northerners in 2023 on October 8th, is because there was a fear that there would be a new massacre from the north. Today, that threat is off the table. They do not need to be evacuated, and therefore I think they see that Hezbollah is growing weaker. It's going to keep getting weaker. They see that the IDF is getting bigger in southern Lebanon, and therefore I don't think their spirit is going to break. In fact, I think we can all learn from them. Their courage, their tenacity, their determination to remain in these border communities. And they understand how important it is. I mean, this is pure Zionism, ladies and gentlemen, for somebody to be willing to live on the border where Hezbollah was once looking at them on the other side of the fence. Today, it's the IDF. But they understand how important it is for border communities to remain fixed in their land. Trees with deep roots. This is more powerful than any missile. This is how you secure the future of this country for generations to come. So especially those northern border communities, I really have no words to describe how much I respect and appreciate their Zionism, because this is the definition. This is the definition of Zionism. It's setting up farms down to the last acre to the border, and that is what is going to secure our presence in this land for many generations to come. So these are very, very special people, the people in the northern communities. And then I think they deserve the entire world respect, because not only are they on the front line of the Israeli home front, but they're also on the front line of a global fight against barbaric jihadism, and it's a darkness that threatens the entire world. So I think I'll leave it here. It's definitely late here in Israel, but I wanted to get this update out to you before anything else happens. This is a fast-moving war. I'm optimistic. I think this is going to result in a severe weakening of Iran and Hezbollah, and a major strengthening of Israel as a regional power on the front lines, as a spearhead against the dark forces of jihad. I think this is what it's really about. And the fact that we have the United States shoulder to shoulder in this war is absolutely essential, I think, for our coming victory. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope this was useful for you. I'm going to be doing these on a more regular basis, and I hope to catch you next time.